In the year 1978, I visited a tribal village along with my dad, and it was eye-opener to me. Then I visited many tribal settlements, and I found they are in a very backward condition. Illiterates, no awareness about the world or anything, health and hygiene, civilization, no civilization, and they all are animists. Then I did my graduation in mathematics. After that, in 1984 to 89, I served as a missionary in a hill station where these Paliyar tribal people are thickly populated. I conducted adult education for them. 100% they are illiterates. So I encouraged them to send their children to schools and get education. Then I started working another tribal group called Irular and another tribal group, Jenu Kurumbar. Each one has their own dialect, but socially, they all are the same. They are not treated equally by the other communities around them. In some areas, they are still now as treated as bonded laborers only. So I took a few kids from this tribal group and provided them good education. By God's grace, now 7 tribal girls, Irular tribal girls, are doing their college level courses. And 10 Jenu Kurumba kids are in their high school level studies. And 28 Paliyar children are in the middle school studies. I hope if they get good education, then they will come up in their lives. We encourage the girls who are in the colleges now to become civil servants in the government. Also, we are conducting many awareness programs, mainly on health and hygiene and literacy. Now I am constructing a school building exclusively for the tribal children. They can stay here and get education under a pattern called open school education. It's directly under the control of the federal government, and they have a very good curriculum for tribal, slum, and dropouts children. God willing, I will start that school in this June. We have to complete with whitewashing and painting. Also, I have to get the approval from the government in the month of April or May. So you please pray for this. I would like to share about the relief work we did during the recent pandemic. Last in March 2020, the government announced lockdown first. 1 month has gone. In the middle of April or in the end of April, I got messages from our missionaries who are working among these tribal groups about their starvation. They couldn't get anything because they are in remote areas. Most of them are living in forest areas. So it's very hard for them to get things. No transportation, all the public transport has been stopped. So they started starving. That was the news I got from our missionaries. Then I sent appeal to people and they generously contributed for this. And with the help of the volunteers, we provided rice, groceries, vegetables, eatables to 2,700 families. It was a great task. Really, I thank God for his provisions. So please uphold us in your prayers. And I once again thank you all for having me in this Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend David, for. I think it's very interesting that you, as a normal priest, you can just look after your church and do the services, but you have taken this extra burden to help as a mission worker, and it's quite fascinating to hear that. And if you don't mind, if there are questions people like to ask, would you be okay with that?
Yes,
Great.
sure.
Yes, I think here is a clergy who has who actually who is not supported or else sponsored by any organizations, but I think his brother is in the I think is in US, and the family and others all supporting him, and he's uh, giving all that to this tribal community. So please pray for him, and what he's asking is for us to pray in his ministry. And one thing I may be all willing to ask you, the question is, what do you think doing this social work, like feeding these people and enabling them to do this education, how do you interpret that as part of your mission, Christian mission? Say in few sentences before I let others to ask questions.
Actually, my dad was my role model. He usually fed them during Christmas days, but it's not enough, I think. If they get education, then they will come up in their lives. I realized this and I started doing these kind of activities. And Jesus also our role model. He preached to the people. At the end of it, he fed them. That was the principle I adapted in my life, in ministry too.
Thank you. Any questions anyone like to ask?
How do you cope with the fact that presumably, although you can help a certain number of people, there are so many more who need your help?
Yes, the need is great, but we have limited sources. With that, we are trying to do our best to the people. Yesterday and today, I visited our mission fields in the nearby state, Karnataka. And today I am in Coimbatore. When I was in the mission field, many of the tribals came and requested me to give admission for their more children. But I said our resources are limited. We will see. After raising some more support, I can admit more children. That was my reply to them.
Wonderful. Right. And I think if there are no questions, we may ask him to pray for us. And I think, we'd like to say a big thank you, Reverend Yanaya, for coming and sharing your experience as a clergy. And I think I would always think if every clergy has this heart, how much things we could do. And I think that is one thing we are giving training. We are recently starting some training for clergies to do community transformation also as part of their calling ministry. So this is very important for us to hear such stories. So I'll ask you also to share these stories with our friends and students. That will be wonderful.
Joshua,
Yes.
can I just ask? I was on mute, so I didn't
Please.
manage to say
Yeah,
anything.
you
It was
can
just to
unmute
ask
yourself.
whether
Sorry. Please.
you muted me. I'm okay now. I just wanted to know whether you get any help from the government at all, or is this really just a local cause that you can do?
I won't get any support from the government. If I go for that, I have to bribe them a lot, which I don't like, and it's not a Christian attitude.
No,
Oh dear.
no.
Mostly churches and individuals are supporting the ministry going on.
Goodness, it's so gosh.
And is there any negative attitude from the government about Christianity?
Yeah, that is also another reason. If I
Yeah.
take the government support, they are not allowing me to do any Christian work, mission work among them.
Yeah, I wondered if that was the case.
Yes.
But your work will be that example.
Yes.
Yeah, I think from those days until today, we always, I don't think we will use education as a means to convert. Rather, we educate people, and thereby we witness Christ. And
That's
many
right.
children, no children is forced to come for assemblies and all. No, we don't do. But still, many children, come to know Christ in some ways during their school education. And a considerable number of children, when they grow old, they become Christians.
It's lovely.
Yes.
What part of India are you from?
I am from southern state, Tamil Nadu, where Joshua is from.
Okay. But
He
is
works
that
in
where
the-
you work as well?
Yeah. Is there where you work as well? David, did you hear that?
On me?
Is there where you work? But he works near the Western Ghats, which is a little bit, he says Coimbatore is nearly 4 hours from his place. He has to travel.
Yes.
Is the Western Ghats are a mountain that run through the middle of South India, and where the tribal communities are
Right, in the Western Ghats.
in
Okay.
remote area. And they live like a very, very ancient nomadic community, some of them. But it's getting better, but still.
Wow. That's amazing.
Okay, if you want to ask anything, unmute yourself. You can. Otherwise, we will remember his name, Reverend David Nyanaya. Please pray for his ministry and the children he is supporting to make sure. And it's quite fascinating. You know, at the end of the day, these 4 children who has gone to college, they want to achieve civil service, which is the highest job in the government. And if they happen to come, and we hear sometime the tribal communities, they get into that, and they may bring changes, of course, possibly, you know.
Mhm.
I think that is the hope, and I think that is a good vision.
Yeah.
And can I request you, David, to say a prayer in whatever language you like to pray, and then bless us in Tamil.
Okay. அன்பின் ஆண்டவர், இந்த வேலைக்காக நாங்கள் நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். நாங்கள் உலகத்திலே பல்வேறு பகுதிகளிலே இருந்தாலும் உம்முடைய நாமத்தினாலே இணைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறோம். அதற்காக நாங்கள் உமக்கு நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். நீர் எங்களை தெரிந்து கொண்டு உம்முடைய பிள்ளைகளாக்கி மட்டுமாய் வழிநடத்தின தயவுக்காக உம்மை துதிக்கிறோம். நீர் உலகத்திலே இருக்கிற அனைத்து வகையான மக்களையும், அனைத்து இன மக்களையும் நேசிக்கிறீர். அது நிமித்தமாய் நாங்களும் கூட உங்களுடைய அன்பை இந்த தேவையுள்ள ஆதிவாசி மக்களுக்கு பகிர்ந்தளிப்பதிலே எங்களுடைய பங்கை செய்து வருகிறோம். நாங்கள் இருக்கிற இடங்களிலே வண்ணமாக உமக்கென்று சாட்சிகளாக வாழ எங்களுக்கு கிருபைதாரும். இந்த ஜூம் கூடுகையிலே பங்கு பெற்ற ஒவ்வொருவரையும் கர்த்தர் ஆசீர்வதிக்கும்படியாய் ஜெபிக்கிறோம். அருமையான போதகர் ஜாஷ்வாவையும் அவருடைய குடும்பத்தையும் ஆசீர்வதியும். அவருடைய திருச்சபையிலே நடைபெறுகின்ற எல்லா அர்ப்பணிகளுக்காக நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். இந்த கொரோனா வைரஸினாலே பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிற எல்லா தேசங்கள், குறிப்பாக இங்கிலாந்து தேசம், நீரே இறங்கும்படியாய் ஜெபிக்கிறோம். இந்த நோயிலிருந்து பூர்ணமான விடுதலை நீர் கொடுக்கும்படியாய் ஜெபிக்கிறோம். தொடர்ந்து உம்முடைய கரம் எங்களோடு இருந்து எங்களை வழி நடத்தட்டும். மீட்பர் இயேசுவின் நாமத்தில் ஜெபிக்கிறோம் எங்கள் பரிசுத்தமுள்ள பிதாவே. ஆமென்.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming. Have a nice evening.
Mhm.
Gosh, that's so frightening, that the fact of you can't ask the government for any help because you have to
Yeah.
bribe them at the same time.
It is sadly, yes, the reality.
It's a worldwide problem, is that, for so many things, isn't it?
Yes.
Awful.
You'd think if they were feeding, if he was feeding and helping the tribal lands, that he would get help.
Yeah.
I mean, are they? It's just this difficulty with the tribal system. Can they get jobs in government? I mean, they're not seen as.
If they are educated,
You said
possibly.
that.
If they are educated,
Yeah.
possibilities are there. But there are reservation for tribal community in the government jobs, but usually they get the meager jobs like cleaning the toilets and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sadly,
Yeah.
but I think even for that you have to give a bribe.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
It's
So
almost unbelievable. Well, it is
Yeah, it
unbelievable.
is. It is a large scale
Awful.
corruption, sadly.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we are saying it in my society is there, but it is the reality, which is we are fighting, but I don't think from the top to the bottom we can
No,
change.
is the will there to do anything about these people?
It is changing though, slowly.
Okay.
Yeah, because people are now
It
taking
will
cameras.
surely,
Yes, Ross? Ross, go ahead.
over time, gradually, I think it will improve.
Yes.
Over time.
Yes. I think people find it easy to pay money to overcome the bureaucracy process so that they can get it done quickly. That is the sad side of the story. And that became a culture now. So everyone wants money. And even if you drive a car on the road and the police can stop for anything, and he can keep asking questions and questions. So to avoid staying there for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you just pay the money and get away.
Yeah.
We had an example of that in India. We knocked over a lamb or a young sheep, and I'm afraid the bus driver drove off knowing that it was lying knocked and probably dead by the side of the road. And he 5 minutes later, a motorbike came along with a couple of boys on it, and they got on the bus, and we had to fork out for the life of, well, not the life, the death of this sheep. So I know what you mean.
That's a bit understandable, isn't it, if they've lost their livelihood through no fault of their own, I suppose. It's a sort of fine, really.
Yeah.
Whether it's a big fine or not, I don't know, relevant to the value of the animal.
Yeah.
I think a bit more, otherwise they might have gone to the police, and then we'd have been stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, we'll see you later, Kate.
See you.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening. Bye now.
Yeah.